All right, I think we're on. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Insight Policing Livestream Uncut. I'm Megan Price, Director of the Center for Applied Insight Conflict Resolution. Today, we have our regular officers on. We've got Andre Brooks, James Lawrence, and Mike Delaney, all veteran officers with decades of experience. Isn't that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. Yeah. So, and you've all had, you've had decades of experience and experience with a variety of encounters. So we're all insight policing trainers and, value the impact of strong communication skills, particularly in situations that are escalated or have the potential to get escalated. And one of the things that is always a challenge is trying to understand and visualize how to use communication skills in dangerous situations. So sometimes we feel like there might not be time, in order to get control over the situation. You've got to maybe amplify the force or, but using communication skills might be hard to do. So today what we're going to do is we're going to watch a video that's available on YouTube of an officer involved shooting. And we're going to take a look at it and think about the time that the officer had that he used to communicate in a particular way, and whether or not he could have used that time to leverage some insight policing skills to change the trajectory of the situation. So guys, have anything else to say? All right.
Like you led us in the right direction. I think we're ready.
So let's go ahead and watch the video. Uh-oh. I don't know why that came up. Hang on just a sec, guys. All right, can you see that body cam?
Yeah.
Or yep, okay.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. All right, here we go.
Get down. Get down. Get down. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Yeah, show me your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands right now. Show me your hands. He's got a gun. Show me your hands now. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands right now. Show me your hands. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands, man. I don't want to do this. Show me your hands. Show me your hands right now. Listen, he's got a gun. Show me your hands. We can work this out. Show me your hands. It's not worth it. Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. Put your hands up in the air. Show me your hands, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Show me your hands, man. Put your hands in the air. It is not worth it. Hey, we need to worry about this guy over here. Come on, yeah. Listen, your warrants are not that serious. All right? Duck for me. Duck for me. Duck for me. If you can, duck for me, okay? Let me see your hands. Come on. Get right to you, okay? Come on. Come on, man. We don't want to do this. Show me your hands. You'll be out of jail tomorrow, man. Come on, show us your hands. Come on. Dude, it's not worth it. It is not worth it, man. We don't take anything personally. I do not want to shoot you. But if you don't show me your hands, that's what's going to happen. Put your hands up. Please don't make me do this. Please do not make me do this. Put your hands on the ceiling. Put your hands on the ceiling. Come on. It is not worth it. You are going to die right there in that passenger seat if you don't show me your hands. Come on. Huh? Talk to me. Hey, talk to me. Look at me. Look at me, man. Look at me. Show me your hands. Do not make me do this. Let me see your hands. Come on. Come on. I know you're hurting right now. We'll get you help. Put your hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Come on, bro. Come on. Where's the gun at? Waistband. Okay, don't reach for it. Don't reach for it. Don't reach for it. Put your hands up. Hey, listen to me. Listen to my voice. I don't want to do this, and it's not worth it. The warrants that you have right now, you'll get a bond. But if you make a bad decision right now, it could cost your life. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I'm begging you to not make that choice. Come on, man. It is not worth it. Do not make me do that. Please put your hands up. Come on. Hands up. Come on, bro. I don't want to do it. Come on. Stop. Don't do it. Don't reach. Don't reach. Don't do it. Come on, man. Please don't. Please don't. Show me your, put your, whatever you got in your hand, drop it, okay? Drop it. He says he's got a gun. Listen, man, I don't want to do that. Good. We're good.
I think we lost the sound during the shots being fired.
We lost that. Okay, well, we know that they were.
Yeah.
He shot. Yeah, so that was intense, right? That was an intense situation. And what we can see from that is that officer did all that he could do to try to communicate with that man in the car. He did not want to shoot the gun. He wanted the, over and over, please don't make me do this. You're going to die. Just show me your hands. We can help you. Your warrants aren't that serious. All these things to kind of convince the driver that, the best move for him was to cooperate, show his hand so they could apprehend him in a safe way. But he wasn't doing that, right? And so, what else could he have done, right? From an insight policing perspective, what could the officer have noticed? He had over 3 minutes. That was a long time of persuading trying to persuade the driver to comply. Is that right?
Yeah.
So he used that. He had 3.5 minutes. What else could he have done, to try to use that time to communicate in an effective way?
I think he could have asked curious questions. He was making statements. And again, this is after the fact. And Andre and I, we investigated in Prince George's County police-involved shootings. And we would do this. We would sit, if there was video or audio available, we would sit down and break the video down, the audio down, speak with witnesses to find out what happened or what could have changed the situation, for training purposes, to keep people safe, and for charges as well. But in this case, I think he could have asked more curious questions. He could have tried to communicate with the guy better. I know he gave a lot of commands to him, and again, it did appear that the officer did not want to shoot. But from the insight policing aspect, if he would have asked curious questions, I think it may have generated more conversation, and maybe the guy would have let his guard down a little bit.
Yeah, that's a tough call and a tough situation for that guy to be in. And if you notice that there was other officers, so yelling at the same time that the officer who we saw shoot was yelling. But then after a while, those officers were kind of silent and kind of had the officer that we could see in his video. He pretty much had the guy's attention. Maybe the other officers could have used tasers. And it didn't have to be like that. But like Mike said, maybe he could have engaged him, because there was a length of time there. That was a long time actually. Maybe he could have tried to get into his psyche to to, because he had calmed down, the officer calmed down, he got his senses back. So now maybe you're saying, maybe, he telling him he doesn't want to do it. I've been in that situation and 1,000 times telling somebody, no, drop it, don't do it. But the guy never had his hand on his gun as much as I could see. I don't know if he really grabbed it or not, but maybe trying to, time is on your side, really, in a situation like this. There's no rush to do anything unless you're met with lethal force by the suspect. Then you have to do what you have to do. But maybe he could have taken the time back, stepped back. I mean, these days, kinder and gentler. If the car was not going anywhere, they may have all backed away from him. They were really close to him. They may have backed away and maybe try to have a better dialect where they would be behind cover and concealment. And you maybe get into those questions as to why you want to do that and try to talk him down, because everybody seemed like they had gotten their heads back together after the initial running up to the car. So you had time, I think, to actually ask.
And he did look like he was in a safe position, right? He was behind the door of the truck. And so, I mean, the kinds of questions that, to ask a curious question, you have to notice, right? You have to be aware that the guy who's not complying, that's conflict behavior, and when we see conflict behavior, those, his was like a freeze, right? Or a defiant fight. He wasn't complying. He was being resistant and non-compliant, and he was not putting his hands on the roof of the car. And so that's something to notice, his behavior. So when you see something like that, when you're experiencing that, you want to get curious. Okay, what makes you not want to put your hands on the ceiling? Why won't you show us your gun? Or I don't know if he was asking to show the gun, but put your hands up. What's getting in the way of you putting your hands up? What do you think is going to happen if you put your hands where we can see them? But trying to get into, like you say, Andre, into his psyche. What's motivating what he's doing? What are the feelings in there that are leading him to not comply? He's clearly petrified, right? I mean, he's there with guns in his own face. So how do you use that time to be effective, to meet the goal of not wanting to shoot him, to helping the guy, to letting him hear that his warrants actually aren't that serious? And, so getting his perspective, being able to ask questions that generate an insight into what he's thinking might have helped bring him down and gotten him to comply.
Right. Just what if the situation was into a house or apartment? I mean, they would have backed out anyway, and it would have become a barricade situation. You can have a barricade situation in a vehicle, then that gives them time, and time is on the officer side to, the one thing you don't want to do is really, you don't want to take a life out here in policing. You want to try to talk somebody out of the situation that they're in. They're in crisis. It's a mental health crisis that they're obviously experiencing. And you as an officer have got to take that time to reevaluate yourself and step back for a second and say, and trust me, and I know it's hard to do, but I mean, to save a life, even to save your own or another officer's life, you just might have to take a second back and step away. As long as that guy can't get mobile and get somewhere, you got time.
Well, see, I don't know if they knew he couldn't continue to go because, the initial stop, he was beside a car, he was wedged in that parking lot, and then he floored it and went out to the street or to the exit and ran into another car. So maybe the officers may have felt that the car could have been mobile, become mobile again. Even though he crashed into a car, he was in a big, strong pickup truck, and he could have pulled out of there. So I mean, I get what you're saying, especially, if it was a house he was in or an apartment or somewhere stationary, when you have more time. But yeah, if the officers didn't know if he would become mobile again, and again, the adrenaline is running in officers, and I still don't know what kind of warrant it was, how many officers they had on the scene there. So it's a lot of things, a lot of factors that we don't know at this point, but just, discussing what we see there, what was presented to us. And Andre, you said about getting into the guy's psyche. I didn't hear the guy really say much. He may have grunted a couple of times, but I didn't hear him make many statements or comments at all.
No, he didn't, and that's why time is on your side. I mean,
right.
I mean,
Get him to
Yeah,
talk, right?
I mean,
Right.
sometimes you're gonna have to break it down to figure out why this guy won't talk. What's wrong with you? You know, what's wrong? What is it? What's the issue that we can't talk? Why can't you? What's the reason that you want to do this? You know, I mean, hey, it's a hard call, and I don't fault the officers for what they had to do. You know, it's a split-second decision. I mean, you know, we'd hope that the core mission here is to basically save a life, either his or somebody else's. But you know, we know in police work sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. So.
But then, Megan, this is why we have the Insight Police training, this de-escalation training, allowing officers to learn how to communicate, to learn how to notice the emotions, and to know when to ask the curious questions in these type of situations. That's why it's so important to get these officers trained in this. You know, like you said, the three of us, Lawrence, Andre, and I, we have 90 years plus of police experience, and we know, even with our experience, that you have to have this now. These things cannot continue to happen where people are asking questions like, what if, maybe we should have done this. Get the training now, so you're prepared for the next incident like that, so you can say, man, that does work. So.
Yeah, I heard both of you guys say that he didn't really give them much to go on when he was asking them, not the curious question with the inside policing, but when he was communicating with him, because of maybe adrenaline and coming down a little bit. And like that's a tough spot to be in. And we've watched several of these videos. That's a hard one to get, when he was begging this guy for not just not to shoot him, but for his own life, you know? And, you know, whatever happened to cause him to actually pull the trigger, you know, we didn't get to see, did he reach, you know, was he making that furtive movement to cause maybe that action to take place? But having that training that we do, once it gets to that, like what you were saying earlier there, Doc, about the adrenaline thing, when you come down off of it, maybe he would have been curious about asking him those questions, and it could have worked out. But, you know, he was doing the best he possibly could, in my opinion.
And I think that's right. And I think, you know, like Mike said at the beginning, we're not trying to judge this officer, because he was in a really tough situation. But when you have 3.5 minutes to communicate, you want to use that time in the most effective way that you can, because policing is hard, it's fast, it's stressful. And so to be able to identify and notice that kind of resistance, that kind of, you know, that kind of not communicating, you know, there's a reason for it. And usually, particularly in high stress situations, there's some kind of feeling of threat that he's defending against. He doesn't know what to do when he has these officers on either side of him. And so to kind of break him down and to get him to open up and soften, right? You want to get on his page. And so you do that by saying, look, you know, what's making you not want to show us your hands? What's going on for you, so we can understand and use that. And if this guy had 3.5 minutes to try to convince him to comply, then he could have used those 3 minutes to try to get into his thought process and wondering where this fellow is coming from.
And I tell you, there's a video you played during training when we're doing the training on Insight Policing with the Baltimore City officer. And I tell you, that is a powerful training video that exemplifies everything that should be done on Insight Policing. It's like, you know, I don't know if this guy ever had Insight Policing, but I tell you what, he did what he needed to do in that video. And it was a textbook course of exactly how to, you know, bring the situation down, de-escalate it, and ask those questions. You know, get your critical thinking straight, get the critical thinking of everyone else on the side that is also there to assist you, and to disarm this guy, which was the ultimate thing in that video. And I think that's a great display of how it should be done, and not second guessing the officer in this video just now. And I know it was a tough decision, and it's a decision that he has to live with for the rest of his life. So.
Yeah, All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and like the video, comment, subscribe to our channel, and tune in next week, Thursday. We'll be talking about something else. All right. Have a good night.